On this episode of Locked On Angels, Rob Manfred spoke about Arte and the Angels yesterday, and what he said is something we've heard over and over and over and over again. We're going to share the details with you. It's time to get locked on with Mike and John, and this is Locked On Angels.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, it is, and yes, we are. Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. You can find us anywhere you get your podcast, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and SiriusXM by searching Locked On Angels. And if you want to give back to the Super Halo Bros for all this Super Halo content, here's some things that you can do. Leave us a rate and a review on Apple Podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button. And if you're not subscribed already, please subscribe and become a Locked On Everydayer. And whether you're watching or listening, come over to YouTube, leave a comment. It's really one of the best ways to get in touch with John and I and be a part of the conversation. And today's show is brought to you by Prize Picks. It's the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB. Use our promo code LockedOnMLB for a first deposit match of up to $100.
Thanks for being here for this episode of Locked On Angels, where it's your team every day. You've got the Fritz brothers here with you, a.k.a. the Super Halo Bros. My name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Hey, it's our third season here at Locked On Angels. We're talking Angels baseball Monday through Friday, every single weekday with you. On today's show, now that the draft is over, where does that leave our Halos? Is there a culture change coming, Michael? The times, they are changing. Rob Manfred spoke about Arte Moreno and said what you might expect, and we have our thoughts and opinions about that. But first, hey, let's recap rounds 11 through 20 of the draft for the Angels. Let's go.
Yeah, let me take you to round 11. The Halos selected Trey Gregory-Alford. He's a right-handed pitcher out of Coronado High School, and that's in Colorado.
Yes.
And he is according to TBW, Taylor Blake Ward, a Rocky Mountain-sized physical power prep. I like that. I like the tie-in
with the
there.
Puns. Let's go.
I love the tie-in. Mid-90s fastball that flirts with 100 at peak. It's got a late-breaking slider that plays off of the fastball, and he's got a flashy, kind of above-average changeup. His mechanics are good, and he's got some makings to be a starter. He's going to need some development. He does have a commitment to Virginia University. Johnny, the rumor is that he is going to sign. That's a lot of conversation that the Angels have saved some money to be able to do that. A lot of positive feedback on this guy, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And for those who are wanting to know, so you have a set amount of money to spend in the draft, and each pick has a kind of a set amount of what's expected. And so the fact that the Angels had a little bit of a reach in terms of expectations at pick number 8 for Christian Moore, they can pay him a little bit less so that they can pay some of these guys a little bit more. So that the idea is that you can get a high school guy like Trey Gregory-Alford to sign with the team rather than commit to Virginia and actually go to Virginia. And you can incentivize that with a little bit more money. Now, Mike, there was a lot of talk about this particular player, Trey Gregory-Alford, or TGA, as I've already seen. I kind of like that. Joe Doyle is a scout, or somebody who keeps track of minor league baseball. He said, wow, big get for the Los Angeles Angels in the 11th round in Trey Gregory-Alford, a top 100 player.
Wow.
For me, he had him ranked at 95.
Wow.
I retweeted that because he has been paying so close attention to this draft and the fact that the Angels, this is what I wanted, Mike. I wanted a high school pitcher that they can take their time with and develop. It's like another kind of Caden Dana kind of pick. So I am very excited about this.
Yeah. A pick in the 12th round for the Halos was Fran O'Shell the third, right-handed pitcher out of Duke. Well, of course, he's the third, and he went to Duke. He's got a massive frame. He's got really good stuff, very lively mid-90s fastball. He's got a power curve. He's got a changeup, and he's got great command, although there are some questions about him continuing to move forward with that command. He had some struggles in the spring and summer, but according to TBW, he's got dreamy, pure stuff. So Fran O'Shell the III, right-handed pitcher out of Duke in the 12th round for the Halos.
It's more of the Angels are dreaming on the pure stuff in the sense that they see what this guy has and they can do something with it. Fran O'Shell III, the Buxtons are not thieves, Pee-wee. In the 13th round, Mike, the Angels took Fulton Lockhart. He's a pitcher out of Central Florida. In the 14th round, they took Neher Victor, also out of Central Florida. Bayon Caraballo is an outfielder from Reborn Christian Academy. Number 16, the 16th pick, Will Gervais. He's a pitcher out of Wake Forest. You know, I like my Wake Forest guys because those guys always seem to go on to do some really great things.
Yeah, 17th round. You might recognize this last name. The Angels selected Lucas Ramirez out of American Heritage High School in Florida, and his daddy was Manny. Manny being Manny and Lucas being Lucas. And he's going to be in the Angels minor league out of high school. So that's a big pick for them. Pick in the 18th round was David Mershon. He's a shortstop out of Mississippi State. He's smaller, but a high contact guy. And he's an infielder. He's a hitter that can make contact in all of the zones. He's got below average power, above average runner who will steal some bags. TBW says he's a gritty defender on the dirt, and he's somebody that the Angels probably will really, really enjoy having in their minor leagues.
How about Manny Ramirez and Big Papi? You got David Ortiz's son also getting drafted in the same draft. So that's pretty cool that those two, but yeah, Lucas Ramirez, that's going to be fun. And the expectation is he's going to sign for the Angels. So he does have a commitment, but I have seen that it seems like he's going to sign. Mike, we've got Connor Gatewood, a right-handed pitcher out of Baker High School in Alabama. TBW said that he's a tall, projectable power prep guy, prep school, of course, preparatory, lively mid-90s fastball that hits the upper 90s, a power slider that flashes above or a plus slider, some feel for a firm changeup, mechanical control, to see a power starter upside. So he's going to have to work on that control a little bit. There's some health concerns as he's returned from a hand injury. He's committed to Auburn. So there's another potential pitcher that the Angels might need to go above slot for. I have seen some talk of one or the other in terms of being able to pay these guys and use up their spending money that they are allotted to spend on trying to get somebody like Trey Gregory-Alford or Connor Gatewood. Either way they go, it would be a really big boon for the Angels for sure. And finally, round 20, Zachary Redner. He's a pitcher out of Hillsboro. So that's it. The 20 rounds are done. They finished yesterday. Once again, shout out to Taylor Blake Ward.
Yeah, worked hard.
Was just phenomenal in his coverage. And look, we've been giving you his quick and dirty tweets on the Angels, but he pretty much had write-ups for almost everybody who was drafted in this one. And if he didn't already have it done, he wrote them up later. And so, yeah, just incredible coverage. Shout out to Taylor Blake Ward for doing such a great job on this one, Mike. The draft experts range the Angels draft from a D to a B minus. The biggest issue was the idea that they reached for Christian Moore in the first round, and also the lack of starter potential for the next two picks, which were, again, Chris Cortez and Ryan Johnson. What do you think about that, Mike? If you had to give a grade or address these criticisms, what would you say?
I would say first, and Sam Blum tweeted this, so shout out Sam Blum, that both Cortez and Johnson will be starters. The Angels are going to make them starters. So I love that move. And if they can sign one of those high school pitchers, I give them a B, John. I think that this was a really good draft. They drafted a lot of pitchers, but they also drafted some needs with the infield and with the outfield. I really like the Christian Moore pick. Somebody said yesterday, King Zoe, I think was his name on YouTube. They said that Christian Moore has a Dan Uggla vibe about him. And I like Dan Uggla. I thought he was a really good player when he was healthy and was with the Marlins. And so I like that comp. I think that they do get a B. I think that they drafted well. They have some young arms in the system now that they can develop, but they also have some ready almost now kind of guys that they can have be in this starting rotation and develop them to be impact pitchers for the Halos in the next coming years. Like we keep talking about, maybe the window is 2026, 2027, well, Cortez and Johnson will certainly be, I wouldn't say rushed or pushed, but they're going to be developed for that. And I think also Caden Dana being somebody that is being developed for that. And so I really liked this draft. I like what people were saying about this draft. I always look at what the experts say, because they do watch all of this all of the time. And a lot of the experts that know the Angels and know their needs were all saying, wow, this was a really great draft. So I was really pleased with how the Angels went forward.
One thing I've learned about this draft is there's a lot of opinions from a lot of different people out there. And so for as many Christian Moore, like, that's a bit of a reach, you're seeing a lot of, that was a really good pick on the Angels' part. Yeah. And that's just the nature of the game, because you have so many different people studying these guys.
Yep.
And really it comes back to Tim McIlvain, the Angel scouting director, and his team. Look, I know that they're not the biggest team when it comes to scouting departments in Major League Baseball, and that goes back to being an Artie problem. But I will say, I think the one criticism was that the Angels didn't go for Braden Montgomery as the 8th pick, because he was still available. But I will say this. I saw Baseball America had Christian Moore at number 12, and MLB Pipeline had him at 13. And he fills a need that the Angels have. And they were able to sign him, likely, there's not a confirmation yet.
Sure.
Most likely signed him under slot value, which means you can get a Trey Gregory-Alford or a Connor Gatewood later on. And so the fact that the Angels kind of anticipated that, I think, honestly, there was a lot of Angel fans on social media who kind of expected that. And I don't think it's a bad thing to expect that, because later on is where you find those diamonds in the rough who can really work out for you. I mean, look at Caden Dana, and I know that they don't go this far anymore, but Jared Walsh was drafted in the 30-something round back when he was drafted. And so I think it was a good idea to get some high school pitchers, save money for those high school pitchers, and let them develop. Again, I think Braden Montgomery was the one that people feel like they really missed out on. And I know it's not a draft for need situation, but that's kind of what the Angels did here, right, Mike? They went and got a second baseman. Now, Braden Montgomery's an outfielder. They got plenty of outfielders. Right. So I really think that they just really want to solidify up the middle and make that happen fast. So I'm going to give it a B if they can sign those high school players. I'm expecting one of them. If they get both of them, that's a pretty good draft, in my opinion. Hey, thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. The Angels are back at it on Friday against the A's, 6:40 Pacific time. You can catch every pitch of the Angels hometown broadcast on SiriusXM with the SXM app. All you got to do is search Angels. Coming up on Locked On Angels, Rob Manfred spoke about Arte Moreno. What did he have to say? Well, we've got it for you, and we'll talk about it coming right up.
Hey, today's show is brought to you by our friends at Supply House. You can get supplies from the site that's made for skilled trades, supplyhouse.com. At supplyhouse.com, it's the most reliable way to order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. You can shop a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands. That's great. That's why you got to go to this website. When you do, you'll get your order delivered right to your door with fast shipping coast to coast. If you need help with an order, they have people, industry leading, friendly people. They're going to help you, give you answers, and you can talk to a real person, not a computer, every single time. Pros in the skilled trade can get their competitive edge by joining supplyhouse.com's free Trademaster program. Every Trademaster gets access to a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Man, if you're in the trade, the skilled trades, you're doing any of HVAC or plumbing or anything, you need to go to supplyhouse.com/TM and become a part of their Trademaster program. And you can order all of your supplies with just a few clicks at supplyhouse.com.
And today's show is brought to you by our friends at Prize Picks. It's America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 5 million members. So a lot of people are having fun, and you should too. It's the most exciting way to get in on the action all season long while you watch your favorite players, your favorite sports. You can win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. You can turn $10 into $1,000. You just need to pick more or pick less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you're locked in. You can add your favorite players from the diamond with Prize Picks all season long, whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, first inning runs. Take your pick of more or less, add them to your Prize Picks lineup, and Prize Picks now offers Apple Pay for quick and easy deposits into your bank account this season. So download the app today, enter our promo code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match of up to $100. That's LOCKEDONMLB, all one word, all lowercase, and you can get that first deposit match of up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy.
This is the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day, and it's Locked On Angels. Thanks for making us your first listen of the day. Now for your second listen, you got to make the switch. Jump on over to Locked On Sports Today. It's a free 24/7 sports streaming channel. It's programmed for you every single day to bring you the biggest stories in sports. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV Channels app. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every single day. I wonder if they're going to have a conversation about how if you only have one player from your team at the All-Star game, that perhaps that one player should actually play in the All-Star game.
Right.
We're looking at you, Tyler Anderson. We would have loved to have seen Tyler Anderson pitch, our only representative, and yet he doesn't make it into the game. I digress. Angels are back on Friday, and they're going to be playing the A's at 6:40 Pacific time. You can catch every pitch of the Angels' hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Just search Angels.
Mike, a good question to ask ourselves as Halo fans is, now that the draft is over, we just got through talking about rounds 11 through 20, some guys that we're excited about. Where does that leave the Halos now? So first, right off the bat, all indications are that Christian Moore is going to slot in as the Halos' number 2 prospect in the system, only trailing Caden Dana, which makes sense. So Dana is going to hold on to that number 1 prospect status. Of course, he is also in MLB's top 100, which is exciting. That'll be a question I'm interested to see. Will Christian Moore end up in the top 100? Now, that would be cool to have another top 100 prospect. Now, Nelson Rada, Josue Lugo, and Denzer Guzman are the ones that follow Christian Moore. Second, we discussed Christian Moore's passion, his desire to win. He said on Monday that he's going to be the one to get that ring. And Caden Dana also said something similar recently, just before the All-Star break. He said this to Angel fans. He said, "You got a winner. I'm here to win. I appreciate all the good noise. Let's keep it going. Let's start winning." So, Mike, with this kind of attitude, it sounds like an O'Hoppe, a Neto, those guys who are fired up and want to win and, grieve with each loss and celebrate with each win. Is there a culture change happening with our Halos? What do you say?
I think it's already happening. I think things are shifting. And I think what we saw this weekend against the Mariners, winning 3 out of 4, and then that Joe Adell 8th inning 3-run home run, a lot of fire, a lot of passion. I think we're going to see more of that, because I think these guys are going to start winning more. Now, I'm not going to say it's going to happen this year or next year, but I think they're going to put some more wins together. Now, here's where I would push back on all of this. Like, I'm a winner and I'm going to do it. You're going to have to back it up. Like all the language out there is great to hear. Angel fans, I'm going to speak just for me. I love hearing that. I love hearing I'm going to get a ring. I love hearing we're going to win. I love hearing, I'm frustrated watching them celebrate. I love hearing all of that.
Yeah.
Problem with the Angels, though, is that from the organization standpoint, we've heard that narrative for the last 10 years.
Yeah.
And we'll get into that in the final segment, talking about Rob Manfred and Arte Moreno. But we've heard this. We want to win, and we want to do this, and we want to do that. But the problem is that it just hasn't translated to what's happening on the field. So don't tell me you want to win. I want to see the action. I want to see the investment. I want to see us move in that direction. And perhaps this has been the Perry Manassian philosophy and strategy from the beginning, knowing that he's going to have little amount of resource to go and make a big impact. He's decided that I'm just going to rebuild right in front of your eyes. We're going to call it not a rebuild because we got to pacify our boss, but it is a rebuild. And I'm going to get the right players and the right pieces, and I'm going to infuse this team with a winning culture, with a right manager, and then we're going to win in our competitive window, which is probably a year or two away. So I think the culture is already changing. I'm a little nervous about Wash's 2-year deal and Perry Minasian not re-signed yet. If those guys aren't around, it's not like we can't continue to move forward. However, there is a concern, like it's another change. It'll be the 4th GM in the last 10 years. It'll be another manager, 5th manager in the last 10 years. Like that's hard to recover from no matter what organization you're in. So the answer to your question is yes, culture is already changing. It's continuing to change. I want to see some action. I also want to see some consistency, and I want to see a commitment. I want to see an investment from managerial style to coaching style to organization style. And then on the field, I want to see them win. That's how I feel about that.
Yeah, I think you're right in the sense that Perry Minasian has done a lot to bring in guys with, this is silly, good attitudes and the intangibles of, they always say like a good makeup guy, like a guy who's made up of good qualities. And I think that he's doing that more and more with the guys that he's bringing into the organization. And there's a passion to win. These guys are tired of losing, and I'm sure they're tired of the narrative around the Angels. If I was a young guy and if I had the chance to be on this team, I'd want to change the narrative of my team. It doesn't matter if it's the Angels or the A's or the Rockies. Like, I would want to be the one to change the narrative. I think that would be exciting. It would be meaningful. It would be impactful. And people would say, hey, that guy did everything he could to change the narrative in Anaheim. It's just the ownership that held him back, which I think is true about Mike Trout. And I think is true about Shohei Ohtani. And so now we're on a new generation of young guys. Fortunately, it's more than just Trout. It's more than just Ohtani. It's a collective that I think we're starting to see built in Anaheim. And I love the attitude of these guys. I love that they have passion, that they want to win. And I think, I'm trying to figure out how to say this right. Perry Minasian, I think, understands that. And I think he sees that. And I think you're right. I think he works within the limits of Artie Ball, trademark John Rodney, our commenter from YouTube. Artie Ball, I think he works within those limits. And look, there's plenty of criticisms you can give Perry Minasian. But as far as bringing in players who set us up for at least a future, I don't know if it's a good future yet. I know it is with Neto and Ohapi and even Shawnuel and even Joe Adell. I love his passion and fire on the field. When he makes a great play, when he hits a 3-run home run, the guy is on fire, and you see that, and it's awesome. And so I guess what I'm trying to say is there is a future here, and it's TBD on what that future is going to look like. But the fact is, Billy Epler left us without a future. Jerry DiPoto left us without a future. Tony Riggins showed up late to the GM meetings, right?
Yeah.
Like, these guys left us without something here. And so for Perry Minasian to give us something is better than nothing. I don't know if that makes him a great GM, right? But it makes him a decent GM. And so I am concerned about the future and the culture if Perry Minasian isn't here. I am concerned what happens after Ron Washington's second year, because Wash is trying to build something, and the proof is in the pudding. I think that the culture is changing on the major league club, and that's because Wash is there. He sees the fire and the passion. Remember, he spoke to the young guys, the minor leaguers in spring training, and said, wow, these young guys might want to win more than the major league club. I think that's important as well. So all of that to say, I think having a future, not a great future, maybe not even a good future, but something, I think, is to Perry Minasian's credit. It's to Ron Washington's credit. And at the end of the day, it's to the credit of Ohapi, Neto, and Caden Dana, Christian Moore. It's got to be to their credit as well.
John, I give honor to anybody that decides to work on their automobile themselves. Because
Same.
Not my gifting at all. And That's a courageous decision. Some of you are like, come on, Frisch, that's easy to do. I get it. Others of you are probably in my category and John's category. It's really difficult. That's why you need our friends, our everydayers at ebaymotors.com to help you out. They've got everything that you need to maintain your vehicle and maybe even level it up to peak performance. They've got superchargers and roof racks and exhaust kits and LED headlights and so much more. And even if you're just working on the basics of your car, they've got it covered for you at ebaymotors.com. They have over 122 million parts for whatever car, truck, or SUV you're working on, and they've got exactly what you're looking for. And here's what I love. They've got the eBay guarantee fit. You don't want to get something and then have it not fit and then wonder what to do and have to pay for it and then not use it, right? They have the guarantee fit, which means that it's going to fit your ride every single time or your money back. They've got a great website that helps you figure that out. eBay Motors is your best friend when you're working on your car, your truck, or your SUV with all the parts that you need at the prices that you want. It's easy to turn the car that you're working on into your MVP and keep it on the road. So visit ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions do apply, and the eBay Guarantee Fit is only available to U.S. customers.
Mike, Rob Manfred spoke to the media yesterday and gave his state of the MLB speech. And at one point, he spoke specifically about Arte Moreno. What did he have to say about Arte and the Angels? Why don't you give us a little rundown here?
Well, Manfred tried to differentiate between what happens on the field versus what happens in the stands. He said Arte runs a fan-centric business operation in Anaheim, and one of the winks or nudges or nods that he gave to Arte is like the ticket deals. So, for example, if you live in this area in Anaheim, you know that there's the 4 for $44 deal. You get 4 tickets, 4 hot dogs, 4 Cokes for $44, which is a really great deal. And there's not a bad seat at Angel Stadium. But then Manfred then said, but the results on the field are the results on the field. Now,
spoken like a true baseball guy, right? not a New York lawyer who's never managed a team or done anything.
Johnny,
like that.
It is what it is. I mean, that's the phrases that I felt like he just kept throwing out there. So he shared this line after he said the results on the field are the results on the field that we've heard so often about Arte from everybody close to Arte, and it's this: I think Arte Moreno wants to win. I could say that about any owner in the Major League Baseball. I could say that about, of course, nobody signs up to not want to win.
I think John Fisher wants to win, Mike. I think with the A's, I think
of course he wants to win, right? Here's the problem is that they want to win their way. They want to win in their sandbox, right? Manfred also said that he believes that Arte is committed to winning. His desire to win is as strong as any of the other owners. The sky is blue in America, but it's also blue in Japan, right? I mean, that's what it felt like he was saying, right?
Yeah.
Now, it wasn't lost on Manfred that attendance is up around the league, but the Halos attendance is down 28% from its peak. So, Johnny, I'd love your thoughts. This felt like a lot of the same old conversation we've heard all of the time. So what do you make of these comments?
You know what? I have been a huge advocate for us to use our platform to voice our displeasures as fans with this ownership group. And I've often encouraged media to do the same thing. I think Sam Blum does it in a way that rubs people the wrong way. But the truth of the matter is it's the truth sometimes, and the truth hurts. But I got to give a shout out to Bill Shaken of the LA Times, who wrote an article about this. And here's one part of his article, Mike, that I shared on our Twitter yesterday. Bill Shaken said, I reached out to Moreno with these questions. How would you assess the progress of the Angels' young players? Would he be comfortable playing primarily young players next year, even if that meant a short-term hit in the standings and in attendance? Or would he prefer to continue to try and compete every year? Does he plan to retain general manager Perry Manassian beyond this season? And would he consider selling the team, or does he remain committed for the long term?
Okay, all questions that are so easily answerable. And if he said he wanted to run with the young guys, I would be excited about that. If he said we're gonna battle and try to compete, but I'm gonna run with these young guys. So all easily answerable questions. Go ahead.
And Bill then wrote, no comment from Arte Moreno. He didn't respond
Right.
to any of those questions. And I said on Twitter that this is because Arte Moreno doesn't care. He just doesn't care. And people said, well, is he responsible to the media? Just because he didn't respond to the media doesn't mean he doesn't care. No, I think if you don't answer these very easy answerable questions about the future of your GM, whose deal expires in, let me check my invisible watch here, 3 months.
Yeah.
If you don't answer these very easy questions about the long-term state of your team in terms of, are they going to be in Anaheim past, let me check my invisible watch here, 2029?
Yeah.
Because they have a deal that could run them through the next decade, but so far it hasn't been re-upped. And I know they just had a settlement with the city to take care of the legal issues regarding Harry Sadu and the backdoor dealings that went on. These are all answerable questions.
Yep.
And somebody mentioned, well, it's the GM's job to answer these questions. And that's very true. And I totally agree with that. However, the GM can't answer his own contract situation because so far from what we know is nothing. Mike, how would he assess these young players? I know nothing.
Yeah.
And he did say during spring that he thinks that this team is exciting and can be competitive with the young players. Would he be comfortable with trying to compete again or just letting these young players continue to develop, kind of have another 2024 season? We don't know because he didn't answer.
Right.
Does he, would he consider selling the team, or is he committed to this team for the long term? We don't know because he didn't answer. These are all valid questions that some instances only he can answer. And the fact that he just didn't have a comment for this, I think is silly. And you might say, well, it's Bill Shaken. It's just one member of the media. But no, he's been reached out to for media requests several times.
Yeah.
And I think it's silly to think that, oh, in this one instance, he didn't respond. This is a pattern, guys. This has happened over and over. He can't be reached for comment. He doesn't want to answer these questions because at the end of the day, if he doesn't answer these questions, it's because he doesn't care. It doesn't matter what his answers are because he just doesn't care. And so you can get away with not answering these questions because it's like, the wheel keeps turning, the machine keeps machining. Like that's just the way it is. And I think it's silly to not answer these basic questions. He'll talk to is it John Morosi or I forget who was at Sports Illustrated, but he talked to him about Shohei.
Yeah.
And that's really the last in-depth piece we've heard. Now I know that he talked to the Orange County Register at spring training, and a lot of his comments were the same about Shohei and whatnot and how that all went down in that ordeal. But I think it's silly, Mike, to have very valid questions that your passionate fan base wants to know. They want to know about the future of this team. Mike, I'm sick and tired of caring about the Angels more than Arte Moreno. I'm sick and tired of it. Like John Frisch, as a fan who has a podcast, should not care more than the owner of this team who's committed to winning and his desires once more. Then show me. The young guys show me every day that they want to win. Hoppy, Neto, they show me. They back it up like you mentioned. But so far, this front office, this ownership, they haven't backed anything up about a desire to win or a commitment to winning. So at the end of the day, I'm tired as an Angel fan of caring more than Arte Moreno.
Hey, thanks for committing and actually making it happen. Making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day.
Yes.
We appreciate that. Angels are back on Friday. Play the A, 6:40 Pacific time. You can catch every pitch of the Angels' hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Just search Angels.
Hey, give us a follow on Twitter at Locked On Angels and at Super Halo Bros on Twitter and Instagram. Whether you're watching or listening, come on over to YouTube, find today's show, get in the comments section. You guys have been really awesome about that, and so it's so fun to interact with you there. Mike, what do we have on deck for tomorrow's show?
We're going to take you back to your teacher days, John. I'm going to have you get your grade book out, and you and I are going to grade the first half for the Angels, the outfield, the infield, and the pitching staff. We're going to give our grades tomorrow on Locked On Angels.
All right. If I'm going to go back to being a teacher, I'm going to get my anxiety medicine ready too. So there you go. All right, friends. We hope you'll come back and join us for that. Until then, my name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Thanks for being here with us, and we'll see you back here on Thursday.
Shohei hits a 3-run home run in the All-Star game, and the NL team loses 5-3 to the AL team.
Classic.